everyone. Welcome to Beyond the Outer Realm, the spin-off show of the Outer Realm that you guys have all come to know. We are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network, UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 FM and 107.7 FM from New Orleans and, of course, the Gulf Coast. So, unlike the main show, I don't have to go through all of the hoopla and the sponsors and all that, even though we appreciate and love them all. But it really is nice just to get right to the point. So I am really excited about today's show. I have been very excited about this since it became a thought in my head. And I was actually able to connect with our lovely guest and that this was going to come to fruition because I have followed her for a long time and I have followed her husband for a very long time. And who of us hasn't technically, because he was such a pioneer in so much of what we've come to learn in the industry of not just spirit research, but mediumship. So my guest this evening, for those of you on the other side of the world, is the lovely Gwen Acorah Johnson. And the show is basically remembering Derek Acorah. So this is a special feature for everyone and for me. And he was just a very well-loved man and just so gentle. And he was a class act, much of what you don't necessarily see anymore in this day and age. And I don't mean to sound facetious at all. I just think that the industry has gotten so big and that there are just so many people and so much media that doesn't really put into it anymore. They just don't seem to matter. Who comes on or what the content is, as long as it suits a narrative. And you've often heard me talk about the narrative, and it's different times. And I mean, we're excelling in many ways, but I think in some ways we've sort of stood still with some stuff. And Derek was definitely a hard act to follow. So without further ado, the lovely Gwen, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Oh,
At the moment.
oh yeah, it's a bit of a challenge out there in the UK. I'm appreciating that you're making it work. So thank you.
Well, as I said, my laptop has let me down. My daughter is in my office, so I'm running away.
So here I am, resorted to the floor. So, well, I appreciate it very much. I know that that our guests will appreciate it as well, and I can't thank you enough for joining us all tonight because honestly, you know, we all love Derek. We all love Derek. We all grew up. I mean, I'm showing my age a little bit because I started watching Derek, I think, in the old, the very popular TV show. I don't know if you want to even talk about it or what. That's up to you where you want to go. But a lot of people, yeah, we grew up watching Derek and we followed him on his journey, and he was just always so delightful. And still now, I just think, oh my God, I just recently watched Paranormal Egypt. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I have forgotten just how much love he had for what he did. And he did it with such integrity.
Well, Derek's story and his first steps onto the pathway of spiritualism and mediumship began a long, long time before he became a public figure.
Yes.
Many, many years before. I met Derek in 1985, and
Yes.
pathway then.
Wow. Wow.
He started demonstrating in spiritualist churches in the late 80s, and interest was keen.
Yes.
And so we decided, the two of us, that maybe he would go into small theatres and this sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, that's what he did. But it was a long and well-trodden road before he hit the television screens in the late 90s. 90s, he was on a niche channel over here
Yes.
today.
Yes.
96,
Yes.
I think. That's when he started on television. So yeah, his story began a long time before he became internationally known
Mhm.
on Most Haunted.
I think in the UK, you guys were always ahead of the rest of the world with that sort of thing, you know, with I mean, age of spiritualism goes back obviously a very long way, but everything seems to generate with you guys first, before it hits this side of the world.
I think that it's something that's been over in the United States as well, but
Mhm.
like here, it was possibly hidden. I mean, I can
Yeah.
remember Salem with Derek and um,
Yeah.
going to see the Salem witches and
Yes.
thing and yeah, that dates back some time, doesn't it?
It really does.
Huh?
Yeah, I know on this side of the world it started, well, you had the age of spiritualism in the late 1800s. But even when it comes to, like it was hard, you know, it was very niche community. And I think it right with you guys, it seemed to take off obviously a little quicker.
I don't know. It mediumship. I wouldn't say spiritualism, but mediumship started really coming into the public domain in the I would say 1990s when we had Doris Stokes and Doris Collins, who I
Yes.
whether you're familiar with them,
Yes.
Son and people like that, and though they were the people who really started off
Mhm.
the public appreciation of mediumship.
Mhm.
Derek came along, and I, I think he was the first person to demonstrate live on radio and TV, uh,
Mhm.
giving messages to people, um, and it sort of grew from there.
Mhm. Yeah, the whole forum thing. Yes, it did just take off all of a sudden.
Oh yes, yes, the internet.
The age of the internet. I guess, you know, has its good points, has its not so good points, but I think, you know, when it works, it works. When it doesn't, it's just a pain in the rump, putting it kindly. Um, so Derek was, you know, we came to know him as this really lovable figure and always so polite, even, you know, unless a spirit really, you know, or individual really got in his face, that was the end of it. He was very firm, but he was just always so kind to spirits and you know, his guide Sam, you know, like we really came to know him as, you know, a household figure that came onto our television once a week. It's just, you know, but you knew a whole other side of him. And you know, traveling, and we were talking a little bit about when you filmed Paranormal Egypt and we're there for a couple of months.
Mhm.
So that was after the most haunted days. And
But it was way after the most haunted days.
yeah.
Uh, what a wonderful place! What a wonderful place! Um, we were so privileged in being allowed access to some of the places that you would never ever get to see
Hmm.
as a tourist, or um,
Hmm.
we were allowed to investigate the museum in Cairo
Which is amazing.
throughout the night, and the atmosphere was absolutely amazing. You I don't have the words to describe how moving it was.
Mm-hmm.
I can begin to let you know
Mm-hmm.
what
Yeah.
it absolutely amazing. Amazing.
I can only imagine. I mean, I remember just visiting during the day with a lot of people in there, and it was riveting. I can't even imagine just being there when everything is quiet and you can take it in.
There, so quiet, and you have these massive, massive statuary, and the mummies in the
Yes.
catalogs, and it was yeah,
Mhm. Yes.
absolutely.
My curiosity is what I found interesting in watching the show, because I watched it when it first came out with complete intrigue, and it was a blast from my past, and I still watched it with the same intrigue, like I had never seen it before. And it was interesting how, I mean, you have these people who are very, you're dealing with archaeologists and such, and sometimes they're not so open-minded. They're very focused on the science of and the right, the history. But he seemed to find a way to make quite a few believers out of possibly skeptical people.
Well, he did. I think it's a matter of mutual respect, actually.
Nice.
Showed them respect. He was dealing with the head of antiquities in Egypt, Zawi
It
Hawass,
was, yes.
and they showed each other mutual respect.
Yes.
It wasn't a case of, I don't know, on
Yes.
the
Like,
internet you get people
mhm,
that are totally disrespectful of other people's beliefs, or
mhm, mhm.
it doesn't matter on what subject. Um,
Professionals. That's because they're
uh,
professionals.
when when you meet people face to face, this tends to show a hell of a lot more respect than when they're
The over the
on a keyboard.
yes, exactly. Yes, exactly. No, it's true, and that's something that lacks today, I think, in communication. Um, I found it to be very, very interesting. When I was in Egypt, I found that a lot of the older generation were actually believed quite a bit when asked about, for example, the curse of Tutankhamun, which Derek addressed in the show. You know, the older generation is like, oh, you have to really watch that. You go in there, you something can happen to you. And I'm like, oh wow. But yet the younger generation is like, oh my gosh, don't believe that stuff. It's the older generation that believe it.
Well, I think reality falls between the two.
Yes. Yes. It was just an interesting perspective just to get two different versions and, and having abilities myself. I'm sitting there going, well, stuff around here. Like it's everywhere. You know, but no, I love the whole idea of it. I was disappointed when they decided not to do a second season because there's so many more places.
Well, there are, but there was never any intention of doing a second series. It was
Oh,
a um
a
a one
one-off.
series of programs. Yeah, yeah. We
Mhm.
went down as far as Memphis,
Right.
not in Tennessee.
Yes.
um
Yeah.
and yeah, there was never any intention to go to down to Aswan, or
Oh,
any
wow.
yeah.
I'm kind of the one thing that surprised me the most that is that they didn't address Ramses the First, who is the longest standing pharaoh of all time, who built more structures. That would have been so fascinating. Like, oh, have to do Ramses. He's the man when it comes to, you know.
It was down to the production company as to where
Mhm.
Derek went and where
Yes, of course.
to go. Um,
Yes.
he had no say in
Hmm.
where he was going to go, because, as always, he didn't know
You don't
which
want to know.
era or which tomb, or
Yes.
he didn't know. And believe me, Derek has no, or had no, interest in history of any era whatsoever. So anything
Interesting.
he got. No, when he was in school, he used to skip history
I was such an exceller in history. I loved it.
or practice or something like that. No, he was terrible. He was a terrible scholar. Terrible.
That's so
Boss
funny.
leader.
Because I think, how can you live where you live and not have some interest? Because you guys, I mean, the United Kingdom is just, it's everywhere you look, it's history. I don't, is there a piece of land anywhere that isn't historical?
Absolutely, but Derek had no interest whatsoever. He'd never been to anywhere from an interest point of view.
Yes.
Any of the stately homes or the to visit Shakespeare's
Mhm.
country or no, nothing like that. He had no interest whatsoever. And that's what used to fascinate me, because he'd come up with this stuff that
Yeah.
I knew was okay, because I do like history. I'm particularly interested in the Tudor period of time.
Yes.
But no, Derek, no, he wasn't interested at all. If away from mediumship, it was football.
Wow. Wow. Well, that's some very interesting insight, because I would think, with myself, when I pick up on things or worked in the field, I love the history. Mind you, I love history. I was a history nerd. So
Mm.
it's probably the only class I showed up for. So a little bit opposite, Derek. But I understood, the whole aspect of,
He's been to some of the most iconic buildings in the United Kingdom.
yes,
Would he be able to tell you where he'd been? No.
that's
Would he
funny.
tell you anything about it? No.
That's so funny. That's so funny. Oh my gosh. So I mean, what was life with Derek actually like? Because the public sees this jovial character who's got really good little quips and
Jovial. He was infuriating.
so the guy was a ham, yeah. Yeah.
Derek didn't when he was at home, he was an ordinary guy. He didn't sit for hours talking about his work.
hmm
He was dedicated to his work, that's for sure. And the
hmm
room I'm actually sitting in now, which I turned into a bedroom, was his meditation room. And he'd come in here and yeah, he would sit and meditate. Yeah,
Wow. Wow. Very
yeah,
nice. So he got some of that in, which was nice.
yeah.
Meditate on who's going to win the next football. It's like,
More interested in that.
yeah.
When
Yes.
home, when he was working, I mean, obviously he
Yes.
implicitly in his work.
Mhm.
Nobody would be able to sway him away from that. He
Yes.
believed implicitly in spirit,
Mhm.
and regardless as to what he was said about him, he remained true to
Mhm.
work and spirit.
And that's difficult, because that's a whole chance that you take, I think, when you become a public figure. You're either liked, you're not liked. You're not everybody's cup of tea. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I spent 20 years in the media industry. It's like, meh, I love you all anyway, love and light. That's-
But he didn't start out with the intention of being um on the radio, on the television. He didn't start out that way at all. He
Mhm.
was he wanted to help people.
Yes.
Eric wanted to do.
Mhm.
He wanted to help people with his work as a medium.
Mhm.
Mm, he would do sittings with people and do the best that he absolutely could as far as passing on messages or information to them.
Mm-hmm.
Any work or anything away from being just a medium came
Mm-hmm.
to him.
Mm-hmm.
He never pursued it
Mm-hmm.
at all. He was invited onto radio programs. He was invited onto television programs. And every program that he's ever been on, he was invited, and I included Most Haunted in that. He didn't go seeking them out.
Mm-hmm. No, I can completely respect that. He also authored many books,
He,
right? So somewhere in that crazy schedule, the man found time to write 11 books, was it?
and he used to have to write them by hand because Derek was quite dyslexic, so everything had to be written by hand
Wow.
into A4 pads, and I used to make sense of them. Should I say? It was a joint effort.
Yes.
I would type out and it's yeah.
It must have been a labor of love because that's a lot. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of work on your end, like
Well, on his as well, because he was the one that got writer's cramp. I didn't.
right. It's always a little bit more difficult trying to edit somebody else's vision, right?
Yeah, but somebody else did the editing for us.
Yes.
And off to the publisher, and they did the editing.
Yeah, it's always helpful. At least, yeah, put it to paper, and let everybody else do I
Yeah,
always say the tedious part. Editing is never fun at all. But I'm glad that you both did it. I give credit to both of you for this because it was just great to see, him putting out different things. I think, and Soul and Spirit magazine also.
yes.
Yeah, is a contributor there.
He did all of those. I had no interference in those because the journalist who dealt with the Derek Acorah column used to phone him up, and she used to take notes or record what he was saying or whatever. So
Yes. Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, wobbling around a bit, but
No, that's okay.
I'm
That's
just
phone life. The podcast phone
with
life. I get it.
opposed to I had the laptop all set up and
It just wasn't meant to be. Maybe Derek's kind of saying, let's have a little bit of fun with all this, Gwen.
that wouldn't surprise me in the least. He
Yeah.
did. He did have a sense of fun, yes.
Yes. I'm thinking he's having a little bit of fun right now. So, because you
Possibly.
have to sit on the floor in his meditation room.
This is true. I don't know whether it'd be. Sorry.
No, it's okay. That's okay.
I'm very happy about a bed being in. But
That you're here. That's all that matters. That's all that matters. Now, Derek was one of because of course I went and perused the website and I will put that up. It's in the description. But he was one of the only mediums who have ever been invited to demonstrate at the Oxford Union, and to this date the only.
he was the only person who's ever demonstrated at the Oxford Union, yes.
Wow.
Nobody's done it since. Nobody was invited before.
Wow, that's a really big deal.
That
says a lot.
It's absolutely huge.
Yeah.
It was interesting because you get an awful lot of naysayers in those sort of
Yes. It's the type of people.
yeah. It's so yeah, he did very well. He did
Yeah.
very indeed.
It says a lot to be invited into let's say that's sort of a prestigious
Oh yeah.
location.
Oh, his photographs up there with the great and the good, Michael Jackson and Winston Churchill, and
Wow. Wow. That's pretty cool. Good kudos on Derek for that one. So, and you guys also had because you guys had a life outside of his work. And one of these things is Pathfinders.
Pathfinder dogs, yes,
It's
yeah.
also I put the website in description because I also would work with fostering and doing a little bit of pet rescue. So it melted me when you guys started talking about that way back then. So do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Oh yes, we've supported or up to
Mm-hmm.
I'm indirect supported Pathfinder dogs.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be 20 odd years now.
Yes.
And the founder of the charity turned up on a theatre doorstep in Glasgow one day. Where Derek was appearing at the theatre, and asked whether he would be prepared to be the patron of a charity that she just founded.
Mm-hmm.
He agreed, and yes, the association continued on.
Mm-hmm.
It's a charity that provides seeing dogs.
That's beautiful.
Dogs for blind people. It's
Mm-hmm.
rescue
Yes.
enterprise, but it's not a dog rescue charity.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's lovely though. It's still a very interesting thing to attach your name to.
Yeah. I mean, Anne Royal, who's the founder of the charity, she approached Derek. He didn't go see
No, of course.
know that the
Yeah.
a charity existed outside of the well-known
Mm-hmm.
charity. Um, yeah. So yes, but
I think it's wonderful.
not a but he did
Yeah,
a huge
it
amount.
just shows a different side of him to both of you.
Um, well, yes, but it's not something that you shout about, is it? It's not something that
Mm-hmm.
you go about saying, "Oh, yes, well, I support this charity,"
No,
or "I
yeah,
read."
that's true. Because then you have a whole bunch more just knocking at your door, and you're only like one couple.
Well, it's just that nowadays, so many people seem to attach their name to a charity
Mhm.
because it's beneficial for them to do so.
Yes.
Derek never did, and I certainly haven't. And the people that I know that support.
Nope.
Oh
Where'd you go?
no, where have you gone?
I don't know. Your camera's off.
Is it?
It sure is.
Oh, for God's sake, what's happened to it?
Oh boy, there it goes. Trying to come back, but that's okay.
I shall be back.
There we are. Oh,
I don't know what's happened there.
technology, it's great when it works, but when it doesn't, it's another one of those things. No, I agree with you. People working with charities is a wonderful thing. But when they start, did you find that there's just more people aside from charities still coattailing Derek's reputation and his name?
Absolutely, yes, so many. And I
Wow.
was amazed. I was absolutely amazed. I mean, you can imagine what a well, I don't know. I don't know whether you can imagine.
Hmm.
But Derek passed away, and he
Yes.
passed away quite quickly.
Yes. I'm
Which was
sorry.
an enormous shock. An enormous
Yes.
shock. And it took me a long while to process the fact that he'd actually
Oh, you're there we are. Okay, you're back. Yeah.
because I was quite used to Derek going off for a day or two to a theatre show or to
Hmm.
something like that. So I was used to being in the house on my own.
Hmm.
So it wasn't strange for him not to be here.
Hmm.
But within a day or two, people were oh,
Yeah.
Derek I mean, I was outraged,
Yes.
angry.
Yes.
I was hurt.
Mm.
Oh, so many emotions, so
Mhm.
many emotions.
Mhm.
Because I felt as though, I suppose I felt as though people were trying to steal him from me.
Mm.
Because
Yeah.
all I had now was a memory, and
Yes.
they were sort of stealing that memory. And when
Mhm.
they would sort of say, "Oh, I've got a message from Derek," in messaging me,
Mhm.
how could you have a message from Derek? Because if Derek had a message for me, would he not
Come
show
to you.
some way?
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not a psychic. I'm
Mhm.
a clairvoyant or a clairaudient or any of those things.
Mhm.
Sure that he would let me know in some way.
Mhm.
Wouldn't choose somebody who I'd never met before in my life,
Mhm.
heard of before.
Mhm. Mhm.
He was going to go through a medium. It should be somebody who I knew,
I would
and
think so, because you guys knew a lot of
not
people.
Joe Bloggs down the road who I'd never heard of.
Mhm.
And it was so distressing. Yeah, it was
Mhm.
time, and all the people that were loving and lighting at the time,
Mhm.
they weren't kind people doing that.
Oh, I'm sorry. It takes away from that experience. I believe when you transcend, it's just the next level of life is all it is for us. We shed the vehicle, so to speak, the physical, and we just keep going.
Mm,
And you guys had a very strong connection. That was very evident in the way he spoke about you, or the way, you would be there to assist him when he needed to be
mm,
assisted on camera. You just knew, and following along, you can tell, like the amount of love that was there, and the family life, the dogs, and just, the little videos you guys would share with us all. And I think there would be no doubt about the fact that he would find a way, whether it's a
absolutely.
little bird, whether it's something that just only you would know. It doesn't have to be monumental. It could be subtle, but it would be just for you.
Hmm. Oh, absolutely, yes. I totally agree with that. It certainly wouldn't have been from through somebody that I
Mhm.
didn't I'd never heard of, and
Mhm.
no, he wouldn't have done that. Um,
No.
I Colin Fry passed away. You
Yes.
Colin Fry. He
Yes.
passed away in 2015,
Mhm.
5 years before Derek.
Mhm.
Mm, and exactly the same thing happened with him, with people trying to
Mm.
jump on the bandwagon. Is that a way of
Yeah.
describing it? I don't know.
I would
Um,
think so. I would think so.
Describing anything in the circumstances of somebody passing, but yeah,
It
uh,
devastates the family. It devastates those who are left behind trying to make sense
mm,
of what happened, and it was so fast with him, because I remember you posting about him at that point being in hospital and just being ill. So, it is very difficult. It is a shock. I think people forget how to give space.
I didn't actually say to anybody or post on
Oh, didn't you? I thought something had come up.
that Derek was ill or in.
Oh, so okay, so somebody else must have posted. I remember seeing something come up and I went, "Oh, okay. Well, we were on the onset of the world thing going on there." So it was sort of like,
The first time that I posted about Derek was his death.
wow, okay. So I wonder, I saw when something came by, I kind of went, "Whoa, what is that?" But
Yeah,
I see things in feeds all the time, so I kind of wonder if somebody snitched it out someplace.
I don't. They must have done, because very few
Yeah.
people. Because you see, I, he was going to get better.
Yes.
I thought that he was going to. Yes, he was in hospital,
Mhm.
But I thought that she was going to get better. I didn't think for one moment that
Mm.
he was going to be lost.
No,
No, no, I
no.
don't think that at all.
That was definitely a big surprise to people, and I do find it disturbing that people just did not let you have your time or your peace. And I see this with celebrities, especially celebrity passings. You have select people who come out, and I think that Princess Diana, things went out. I think it was outrageous. The things that came out with that poor woman, and meanwhile, good mediums are saying, no, that's not her. It's just like, where are you getting this stuff? You know,
But the people that that Diana consulted, Derek was not one of them, by the way.
yes.
I would imagine they would have been devastated to see the stuff that was going around at the time.
There's no doubt. And Derek probably would have been one of the few that got it correct. But you see where the good mediums, a lot of good mediums may pick up on things like that, but
Mm,
they would keep that to themselves. They would not put that out there.
yes, absolutely.
I
Yeah.
I think that's an integrity thing.
Mm.
That's not trying to get another, 2 cents worth of media time or trying to cash in on on somebody's.
It's some people, not all people, because as I keep saying, there are so many good mediums out there that actually don't get the opportunities.
Yes.
It's the
Mhm.
less able, should I say,
Yes.
be the ones that put themselves forward.
Yes. No, it's true. It's true. Some people just coattail. It's all that they know how to do. If they can't do it on your own merit, then you go, you take another road. But
Yeah.
it was nice to see people rally around you at the same time, people who you were friends with or friendly with, because you could tell in your responses who you were happy to see leave a comment and those that you weren't too impressed with.
Oh, there was so. I mean, over the years, because of Derek, I've met so many people and made so many friends. In as much as each year when he was going to a different area, uh,
Mhm.
doing his theatre demonstrations,
Mm.
you'd see people coming along, and of course I knew them, and yeah, I do consider them sort of not close friends, but friends nonetheless.
Mhm.
Lovely
Yeah.
to them. And so hundreds of people, absolutely hundreds of people. Um, and then of course there were the people who really supported him and were part of um
Mhm.
fan club, for want of a better word. Derek hated the word fan. And my friends,
Mm. That's nice. He would. He's very humble.
they knew Derek. They knew Derek that was not on stage. They knew the Derek that wasn't in front of the camera. They knew the Derek who'd maybe have a little bit too much to drink and a dance and this sort of thing. That was the
Yes.
Derek that they knew.
Mhm. Yes.
Um, and they were hugely supportive.
Yes. And I'm glad that you had that because it tends to balance off the crazy that comes with this sort of tragedy, unfortunately.
Mm.
Um, so in talking about signs, did you get your sign that you needed? You don't have to share what it is if it's personal, but did you get
Um,
the sign?
yeah, yes. I mean, it wasn't a message.
No.
It wasn't a message, and I sort of knew that Derek had gone before he had,
Oh.
because I'd um, come home for an hour or two to try and get some sleep.
Mhm.
And obviously, we had two dogs, two cats,
Yes.
this sort of thing that
Mhm.
who aren't used to being left alone.
Yes.
I'd come home, and it was oh, I don't know, about 4 o'clock in the morning on the day before Derek passed away, very early hours. And yeah, I came in, it was dark, it was January. And I was in the kitchen of our home, which has doors through to a conservatory. And I'd opened the conservatory doors and the doors through to the conservatory in case the dogs needed to go out.
Yes. Yes.
And I was standing waiting to see whether they would. And I saw Derek, and he was walking away.
Oh, that's profound.
Yeah, he didn't have the clothes on that he'd gone into hospital in. Had an aviator jacket, a thick sheepskin aviator jacket, and a pair of jeans on.
Yeah.
So he obviously wasn't going to hell.
Right. That was his way of saying he had his wings. His aviator.
But yeah, he didn't turn around. There was no sound, there was no nothing. He just walked through the doors, through to the conservatory, and out of the conservatory doors into the back garden. And that was it.
Did the dogs react at all? Because they're so intuitive. Animals are just like right on it.
No.
Wow.
Nothing.
Very
Nothing
peaceful.
at all. They were just, I think, lying on a sofa or something of that nature.
So very calm.
Nothing at all. And I sort of knew then that he'd gone.
Yes.
His body was in hospital. His body was on a ventilator and mechanically kept going.
Yes.
But I knew that he'd gone then.
When you have that connection, you would know.
Although I denied it, because of course I went back to the hospital and went through the whole process and whatever. But yeah. And then some weeks after he'd gone, I was standing peeling vegetables in the kitchen, and I felt him standing next to me.
Yeah.
Was, you know, when you know he's standing next to you and you know who that person is?
Yes.
Yeah. And apart from that, the dogs they quite frequently go to the door waiting for him to come in, but sniffing under the door as though somebody has come in and wagging tails, you know, sort of not sitting there thinking, oh, Dad's coming home soon.
Right, they just knew.
So there's obviously somebody. Yeah.
Animals are natural psychics. Like
Oh, absolutely, yes.
You know, I always say when somebody messages me, says, "Oh, there's something going on. Like, do you have a pet?" Follow their lead, because they'll always lead you to what you need to see. But I find those are some of the strongest experiences, when you know and you just feel the presence of that person. You know, you spent all these years with this individual. You know their essence. You know what they feel like.
Yes, definitely. The only time that I've ever experienced anything like that was when my father passed away. I was driving to his house, but I was driving his car. He was in the passenger seat next to me. I couldn't see it. Nothing was said.
Yes.
I knew
nothing needed to be said, right?
Yeah.
You just knew it.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot. I think it takes a lot of energy to come forward and do all these crazy things. You know, sometimes it's the most subtle things that have the biggest impacts.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
You know, so I mean, life changed dramatically, obviously.
Well, my life changed completely on every level. I'd lost my business partner. I'd lost my companion. I'd lost
Mhm.
everything. I'd lost my income.
Yes. Yeah.
Everything. Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely it's to say some people are like, oh yeah, you have life changes, but I think when you're so bonded to somebody besides that and you have such a strong connection and you build your entire livelihood together.
Well, yes, because we'd worked together for 35 years.
Yeah, that's hard.
We'd been together for all of that time. We'd
Hmm.
done everything together. We went everywhere together.
Hmm.
Derek always wanted me to go to the theatres and the filming and this and that and the other. Um,
Yes. Well, his other half, of course.
well, I don't know whether it was because I carried a handbag and he could put his rubbish in it.
Yes. That could have something to do with it.
His cigarettes and his hairbrush and his this and his that and his the other, sort of. He didn't
Yes.
want to carry a bag himself, so he.
I like that. That's very funny, and it's so true. When you're out with your other half, you're out with a husband. It's like you have a purse. What do you have in there? Do you have any pills? Got a headache. Do you have any? It's like you have to be a pharmaceutical company. You have to be a hair groomer. Every
Absolutely, that's.
wallet. Yes, I love that. So a lot of these people, these supporters, friends, um, do they stay in touch? Like, do you still have that support system? Because
Oh yeah,
5 years, that's a big anniversary.
people absolutely do stay in touch, but obviously I don't see them because we
Yes.
see them when Derek was traveling around going to theatres and
Mhm.
up and down the whole of the United Kingdom and Southern Ireland.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
they were far flung, but yeah,
Mhm.
we'd see them.
Yes.
I don't obviously see them nowadays
Mm.
because
Mhm.
in some cases so far to travel.
Mm.
In touch, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Oh, I again, I think that's wonderful that you're able to hang on to that support. I mean, I think when Derek passed too, the whole world kind of went into a crazy place for a bit as far as you weren't seeing anybody. So it's very hard to keep in touch and to try to be social in that time, as social as you can be, I guess, even just visiting people who are close with you.
Well, it was a weird time, wasn't it? Because everybody was ill.
Yes.
Everybody was
Hard times.
and Derek passed away on the 4th of January, and
Mhm.
at the end of January it was declared a pandemic. The
Wow.
virus was declared a pandemic, and then
Yes.
of course we were all in total lockdown in the UK. I think it happened earlier with you, did it not?
I think we may have been after you guys, actually. Yeah, because everything started out there and seemed to the wave seemed to make its way over.
I remember. I think it was Italy first.
Yes.
They were the first to actually lock down. Uh,
Yes. Yes. They
uh,
were. And then it just sort of tore its way through, and of course, we're on the other side of the world, so we were
yeah,
like the domino effect, and then it reached us. We're only talking maybe a couple of months. It wasn't like it was lockdown wasn't necessarily within, like, 6 months or a year. I mean, it was pretty quick considering, so
was it was global. Yeah, yeah.
yes, yes, absolutely.
And what a terrible, terrible time.
It was. It
And
was.
that's one thing that, if you can be grateful, sorry about my
No, that's okay, darling. You're still here.
phone.
That's all that matters. We'll take you
Um,
any way we have you.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, if you can consider yourself lucky in such situations, I was lucky in that I could be with Derek as he
You
passed away. I was
yes.
lucky in that I could be with him when he the funeral and this sort of thing, and so could his friends. It was only a matter of 2, 3, maybe 4 weeks after that people were prevented from being with the loved ones.
That's right. You were very fortunate. At least you
Yeah,
could be there.
yeah, yeah.
Yes. Yes. Because I tend to wonder, how many people in that situation didn't really come out of it because they didn't have somebody that loved them with them,
Mm,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah. Uh,
So,
Absolutely dreadful.
can't imagine. I cannot imagine. So definitely, I guess if it had to happen, the fact that you could be there as I think was important for you, for him, you know.
Well, he was. I don't know. They say people are aware to
I believe they are.
a degree when they're in a coma. I don't.
Mhm.
I I
I'm
don't know, but he got a lot of talking to anyway.
right. I believe that they are. There are people who have come out of comas, and what got them through was things like listening
Mm,
to family members or listening to music. It's just things like they are aware.
mm,
I don't really think I think it's a physical that hinders you, and a man like Derek, who was well aware of connecting beyond the physical, would I don't think they stay in the body. I think they can go out of body maybe, and so they're aware that way. It would be like sleeping in your car at night and putting it in the garage. That's
yeah,
how I
yeah.
most of us are like, "Nah, I'm gonna opt to jump out of the car." So I tend to use that analogy because I really believe that we can travel when we sleep. Like, I don't
Oh
believe
yeah.
right? So I think it would be the same if the body's at rest or induced, that you would
Oh,
just
Derek used to talk constantly about astral travel and
yeah,
traveling when he was
yeah,
asleep.
and gone at the same time, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He totally said
So
he did that. I mean, I can't imagine what it's like, but yeah, yeah.
So that's probably what he's doing. He would have I think he would have probably just jumped out, not stayed. So like in this body of his that was
Mhm.
induced or in pain. Like, did you ever get the sense that while you were in there and talking to him, did you ever get the sense that maybe he was there in a different way, just trying to comfort you?
I can't say that I did. No,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
I can't say that I did.
So
It,
focused on the
it
situation.
was such a brief amount of time. Uh,
Mhm.
there was
Yes.
there was uh, a day
Mhm.
he was in. He was
Mhm.
taken into the hospital and intubated and put into
Mhm.
coma.
Yeah.
Um, and there were very few hours between then and when I actually saw him and realised that
Mhm.
actually that's his soul.
Mhm.
Yeah. Um, what was left in the bed was,
A shell?
yeah, a
Mm,
vehicle. Mm.
yes, yes. There's no doubt that he's probably out there still helping people, still
I'm sure it is.
he's just so gifted, you know?
I'm absolutely sure. I mean, now I can sort of quite accept the fact that he'll be popping in to see people that
Yes.
he used to chat to and talk to, and
Mhm,
he'll be having a high old time. Once
mhm,
upon a time, I couldn't accept that. It took me a
yeah,
long time to accept that Derek would want to be anywhere but home.
mhm,
But then reality sort of dawns, and you realise that
mhm,
what he not preached, but what he believed and what he spent his
yeah,
life speaking about. Actually, I was expecting him to do something completely against everything he believed in.
wow, Wow. Yeah, like time to just settle down and
Yeah.
be back home and, help you through it.
Mm,
I'm a big believer in synchronicities. I do believe it's a universal language of people pay attention. Like
mm,
when I say, back a few months ago when this person said this on the show, w I had actually thought about a couple months before that. I said, "I really wanna reach out to Gwen and see if she would like to come on." And then but then there's that part of me that's like, get, your space because I knew we were coming on an anniversary soon. So like the 5 years is a big anniversary.
mm.
And then, when this woman basically said, "Oh, no, there go," and it's like right over my head. Just so, so I kind of have an understanding of maybe where that would have come from now
Mm.
because I had thought about, reaching out but I always so respectful of, that space because, I've lost people in my life. I know the importance of having that space and that you're almost reinventing yourself, you
Oh,
know?
you have to, don't you?
Yes. Yes. You have to just let it go, Like for me, I mean, I lost both my parents within 15 months to this illness, and, that was like what happened? It's like this Mack truck hits you and it's again, it's almost like you're conforming and reconditioning yourself to life
Mm,
without these
mm,
people. Me losing a significant other or a child would be so much different, obviously, but, when you wake up next to somebody every single day for the most part, and you get up, you start your day, you have a routine,
mhm.
like there's always a plan, whether you're just gonna lay back and just have quiet time, you're going to do it together, whether you're going to go out to an event, you do it together. Then all
Mhm.
of a sudden, 2 become 1.
That's right.
And
Yes,
it's like,
because we had so many plans. We were going to do this. We were going to do that. We were going to do everything because
yeah.
2020 was going to be his last year of working, doing
Wow.
theatre work. Yeah.
Wow.
He was going to cut back. We were going to start living for us.
Yes. Which is nice that you finally did that after how many years just to do for you. Yeah.
Well, I didn't plan on doing it on my own.
No, exactly. No, no, exactly. Well, you never know. Sometimes you have a love for what you do and it tends to take over sometimes. But I mean, you guys, you had a home in Spain. You talked about that. So you had a getaway place,
Oh
which
yes,
is
yes. We used to go to. We had a Spanish home for many years. I only sold it um the year before last.
oh wow.
It it I wasn't going there.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go there. I
Mm-hmm.
rent it out. I didn't.
Mm.
I yeah. I sold it
Yeah.
uh, to a couple who have made it into a holistic centre, I believe.
Beautiful.
So.
That's so nice that it actually went to something so positive.
Well, I'm glad that it's gone to somebody who's going to look after it because it was a beautiful place and
Mhm.
I've hated for it to
Mhm.
deteriorate.
Yeah, I can't imagine that it would have been easy to, as I mean, you gave it enough time,
Mm,
right, going through the grieving process, but you get there and it's more realizations, a different type of healing, um, you
mm.
know, so it's tough to shed all of that, so
It is. It's dreadfully difficult. I mean, um,
mm,
I sold the Spanish house because obviously you have to
mm,
pay bills still, you have to pay this,
mhm.
pay that. And if it wasn't being used, I didn't see the point in paying
Mhm.
£10,000 a year to keep it
Exactly. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
going. Yeah, so I
Mm,
sold. But as far as um, things that don't eat.
Yes.
Like Derek's song.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're still here. I still have all his clothes. I still.
Mhm. Mhm.
I don't forget.
There's no time limit on grieving. There's no rule book. There's nothing that says things have to be done in a certain way or a certain time. Uh, my grandmother had my grandfather stuff for 30 freaking years. She just wouldn't go there. It's, so when she passed, it was like getting rid of everything. So you do what works for you, you
Well,
know?
you do. Yes, you actually do, because everybody's different. I think
Yes.
everybody's journey is different. The
Yes.
way that people cope with
Mhm.
monumental
Mhm.
happenings in their life, we're all different.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
I wouldn't accept, and I couldn't accept at first,
Mhm.
and still to this day, I don't always accept. Um,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
yeah, people are different. I mean, some people cry rivers,
Mhm.
some people don't.
Correct. Yeah.
Um, sort of, I thought, I'm not grieving properly.
Mhm.
Do I need counselling?
Mhm.
Go to counselling. I didn't in the end. Perhaps
Mhm.
should have done. But
Well, I think, you heal in due time. I mean, a counselor will tell you the basics, tell you what, need to hear, but realistically, they're there to help you reflect on what you already know deep down.
yeah, yeah,
And sometimes, it's just a matter of putting it in a letter,
mm,
putting it away, and writing your thoughts down just to get it out there, something that allows you to reflect.
that is actually true. Yes, because I found that writing this book,
That's right, you're writing a book.
well, it's written,
Oh, is it? There we go. Okay.
editing it at the moment.
Yeah.
Been a really cathartic experience,
Mhm.
because I put down on paper a lot of the things that were just sort of going around in my head.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes.
Uh,
So a lot of reflecting.
yeah, and remembering all sorts of
Mhm.
events, and
Good
yes,
times.
it has
Yeah.
me.
So you found it therapeutic or,
Mm, I, yeah, even though I suppose many would say, so it's been 5 years, isn't it about time you got over it?
Shut up.
But
Yes.
yeah, but that's the way some people think, isn't it? Not everybody, but that's the way they,
Yeah.
sort of. I mean, it's
Mhm.
5 years is quite a long time.
Mhm.
You
For
know,
some. For
so
some. For
yeah,
some people, it feels like it's just yesterday,
mm, yeah,
you
yeah.
know? I mean, it feels like it's just yesterday. For people are still talking about, about Derek, then it's just like it was just yesterday.
Well, yeah, people do. He's still a he's still a presence.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
he's never gone away.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, because, well, people still remember him and they still talk about him, whether
Mhm.
good, bad, or indifferent, but they still talk about.
Yes. Yes.
Um, and some
Yes.
people, sort of use his name as publicity.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. It's true. But I mean, for you, writing the book, therapeutic,
Mm.
do you feel that did it make you take a step back in your own healing journey? Or do you feel it bumped you forward a little bit?
Um, I think yeah, I think it bumped me forward. I would say. Yes,
Yeah, that's good.
because I've come to terms with some things like
Mhm.
on paper
Yes.
that I wasn't prepared to address.
Mm,
Or,
right. So
or
you're helping yourself in your own, you know.
yeah, that wasn't the intention.
No, but it's kind
I,
of cool
when
how
I
they.
decided to write the book, it wasn't my intention of it being a healing process for me.
Yes. But so basically it's a bonus.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just a
It,
bonus thing that it
it,
helped you, even if it's
it
a
came.
smidge.
Yeah.
Right. Do you feel that when you were thinking back on things and remembrance and writing things down, do you feel maybe he had a little bit of input in there? Like, did you feel yourself getting directed one way or another at times?
I found my memory being jogged a lot.
See, there we go. So maybe Derek's like, now it's my turn to help you with the
I
book.
got my back by remembering some of the funnier.
Yeah, I remember that.
Derek
Okay.
Black.
Yeah. So he had more, maybe had a bit of a hand in it, figuring it's his time to help you with your book, as you've
Yes.
helped him so many times with his book. So, no, I think it's wonderful. You hear about things like that, just I find myself even in remembering, like my memory can be terrible when it comes to certain things, but
Mm.
even after the loss of my parents, all of these childhood memories would start coming in. I'm like, I haven't thought about that. I don't think I've ever thought about that, aside from the moment that it happened, because I can never remember it. But all of a sudden, you find yourself like, I said, okay, well, thank you. It's a nice memory to have, but I know I didn't just come up with it on my own.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yes, because in fact, I keep remembering things, and as I'm going through the chapters, editing and this sort of thing, oh, I've forgotten that, and I'll add it in, and then I've got to go back to make sure it's properly in context.
Yes.
Go away, Derek. Go away.
That's right. You didn't say this part. You didn't say this part. So, what is your fondest memory of Derek and yourself,
um,
or just Derek, whatever you want to share?
my fondest memory, his kindness, I think.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, his kindness. I can remember it was at a fan club event, and this lady and her husband had followed Derek for years, absolutely years, and she'd been in hospital and she'd had part of her foot and her leg amputated,
Oh goodness.
wheelchair, and she came out of hospital
Mm.
to attend
Oh.
that event, but it was the kindness that Derek showed to her by dancing with her,
Oh.
holding her. I mean, obviously,
Yes.
because of her what had happened to her,
Yes.
couldn't. But he held her and carried her and danced with her. I thought that is so kind, because she was so desperate to see him, so desperate.
Yes. Yes.
And it was there were things like that. There were lots of kind things. Didn't cost anything. It
Mm-hmm.
didn't. It wasn't some marvelous demonstration of mediumship or whatever. It was just kindness.
A demonstration of being human.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And that is, I'd say my that element of Derek is my most treasured memory, because he was kind to so many people.
Mhm.
Totally egotistical. I mean, what you got with Derek, so through and through, and he remained it all his life.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was a kind man, and that's what I treasure. That's my most treasured memory of him.
Yeah, I can see that. I think we have, just from what we see, not on a personal level, but it's very evident, in his work, his professionalism, and he was always kind in his speaking.
Mm.
Um, you could say like he was not the one that would be instigating the conflict at any.
Oh no,
He was just very,
everybody.
very, yeah.
He even used to thank Alexa. Is it Alexa? Alexa and Siri on the phone.
Right.
If he asked them a question and they replied, he
Oh, that's nice. I always call
yeah,
Siri a
you
cow, but
really do not need to thank Siri.
no, some of us are a little bit abusive. I felt really bad. She started following me on Twitter, and the voice of Siri, and this was ages ago. And I would sit there, and but I eventually I disabled it because I would be talking and she'd mess it up. I'm like, you're just such a cow. Why do I even talk to you? And I realized there's something wrong. You need to just stop. So I disabled it. Then she followed me on Twitter. She goes, I'm the voice of Siri. Now I have a face to address my rage. So kidding, but anyway, kidding not so much. But yeah, he's just that's all legacies. Derek has left behind legacies. His website, for one, just is still going strong, and there's people who are still wanting to continue his work.
Well, I think the legacy that he's left behind is the fact that people are still remembering him.
Yes.
He must have contributed something, and that they are prepared to speak kindly of him.
Mhm.
I think his legacy is the work that he did for
Mhm.
the spiritualist movement as a whole, or
Mhm.
spiritualism, or
Mhm.
whatever. Yeah, because he was one of the people that helped bring spiritualism and mediumship and the
Mhm.
whole esoteric world of esoteric
Mhm.
into the public eye
Mhm.
more clearly.
Mhm. Yeah, I would agree. I think, when you think back to
Yeah.
really great mediums and their contributions, um, his name comes right up there.
Mm.
Still to this day, he is very respected. You can't please everybody, but on the grand scheme of everything, he was very well respected man.
Well, yes, he was. I mean, not the the skeptical element,
Of
obvious,
course.
and
Yes.
they didn't agree with him, but they
Mhm.
all respected him.
Yeah.
You know,
See?
and I think that says a lot when you get some of these hard-nosed skeptics who poo-poo everything, got
Yes.
real proof, but they poo
Yes.
all the same.
Yes. Yes.
And they all thought he was a decent man.
Yes. Well, when you have integrity, you almost don't wanna hit hard on somebody either. He's such a nice guy. We just don't want to just come out there and just go, you try to find a more delicate way of putting things, or at least more professional way, of putting things. I think you can be obviously skeptical. I think it lends to, to any field to a degree. You
Mm.
don't want to run around believing everything that you see or hear,
Oh,
but I
sure.
think there's a right way and a wrong way.
Oh, absolutely, because Derek and I used to have many debates, because although we were a couple, and I didn't always agree with what Derek agreed in or appreciated, or oh no, we used to have some lively discussions. Should I discuss? Oh yeah,
To
yes.
be a fly on the wall when that's going on. I'm sure it would have been very interesting. But it lands at the yin and the yang, it's got the balance.
Well, people expected me to be, believe in everything that Derek said, or
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
appreciation of what his belief was. But
Yes.
because I was married to him, it doesn't mean to say that I had to believe exactly the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I
Exactly.
couldn't
Did you ever change his
accept
mind
the
on stuff?
that he accepted, you know.
Right. Did you ever change his mind on stuff?
No,
Because he seemed pretty headstrong. Yeah.
no. He,
Oh,
once Derek had something in his head,
that was it.
nobody would change it. No,
Wow. But
nobody would
it's
change it. Once he'd made his mind up over something, that
yeah.
was it.
It's funny though that he just so firmly would have these big discussions to try to convert you over to the other side of the team. So
He had rather met his match in me.
that's good. You kept him like nice and grounded and focused. And, oh, I think it's wonderful.
We used to agree to disagree.
Yes, and sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you have to do that.
Yeah.
You know. So what's with the book? What's next for Gwen in all of this?
I don't know.
Did you just went through like what would have been a 30-year anniversary as well?
Yes, it would have.
Another milestone.
It would have been, because we'd been together for quite a long time before we decided to get married.
Yes.
But yes, it would have been. What is for me, I don't know. I don't know. I might pluck up courage and do a bit of traveling on my own, and then I think, no, maybe not. I won't.
Planes are dropping out of the sky, Gwen. You might want to be careful with that one. Yeah, exactly. You might think we're driving. So
I don't know. I don't
yeah.
know. I don't have any particular plans. I will wait for life to unfold.
I think that's a perfect way of doing it.
Mm.
Kind of go to the beat of your own drum. So the book is written, so you're waiting, obviously, to eventually publish it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, which could
Yeah,
mean like
it'll be. Hopefully, it'll be published within the next couple of months. So, yeah.
right. So it could be a book tour in your future.
Oh no, I don't think I'll do that. I don't like.
I don't want to do the peopling part, but no.
Oh no. I was never the peoply one.
Right.
I was the one that used to sort of keep out of the way and chortle and snigger with Derek's tour manager as we saw some young ladies sort of passing their number to him.
Oh my goodness. Isn't that a thing? This is a terrible. This is such
Oh,
a
it was funny.
yeah, it can be amusing, you know. You kind of feel embarrassed a little bit for some people, and I'm sure Derek in his mind just going, one of these.
Well, he sort of was, because he knew that his wife was standing just over there.
There we go, right? So yeah, just put the face palm up there and walk away. So well, I think that it's wonderful that you wrote the book. I'm glad that it was able to take you back down some memories, and maybe more memories will surface, and maybe it will get easier.
Oh, I'm sure that I'm sure that it will, because time, it doesn't heal, but it certainly helps to make things more. It doesn't hurt anymore. You grin and smiling rather than remembering and crying.
So thinking of
Yeah. So yeah,
the
time.
funny memories, the good memories.
Yeah.
You know, I love that. I just think it's wonderful, and I'm so grateful that you came to share your stories with us, but also your healing journey in all of this.
I've had help. I've had some very good friends that have helped, whether they knew it or not.
Yes, and that's the best part. They're not actually trying, and
I'm the sort of person that sort of could or I find it difficult to sort of open up. I can't
Mhm.
bare my soul. I can't
Mhm.
demonstrate emotions to any great degree. It's
Mhm.
it's you know that if upper lip we're all accused of having in.
Right. But grieving is a personal thing, so you shouldn't have to.
No, no.
But that's how I look at it. It belongs to you. It's
Mhm.
your experience. This was your memories. This was your Derek. You shared him with the rest of us, and we thank you for that. But in the end, it's about your connection and your loss.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, and I mean, I'm sure that there are lots of people out there that miss him dreadfully too.
Oh yes.
Um,
Yes.
um, um, I'm sure that
Mhm.
they
Yes.
can
Mhm.
you know, reflect.
Mhm.
Maybe they'll read what I've had to say and think, yeah, yeah, I felt like that too, you know.
Mhm. I think so. But I love even, people in the chat. It's just been about comments, being very respectful and just listening. And Tara says, I think Derek helped normalize mediumship and being psychic. You
Mm.
know, I think that.
He was a very normal man. He was a very down to earth man. As I
Mhm.
said, what you saw was what you got.
Mhm.
He was a
Mhm.
he didn't. He was always surprised that people wanted to sort of see him,
Oh,
and
so
he was
humble.
surprised the way that they thought
Mhm.
of him. You know, sort of how well they thought of him. It
Mhm.
wasn't something that he expected, or
Mhm.
he was always surprised at the kindness of others.
Mhm.
Mm.
But he gave it to. I think a lot of the snippets that you guys would put out there, just being at home and he's just in a pair of track pants and a shirt, just a regular guy taking the dogs out, just or sitting there, dog sit on his lap. He's like, yeah,
Along with cleaning the chicken shed out. One of it.
see, yeah,
That's the thing I don't thank him for,
no,
leaving the shed out.
yeah, like thanks for that. No, because that chores, still had to happen, but no, but it's true because you see these. I think people see when they see someone as a public personality, they're always curious about what they're really like and what is everyday life like with them. And you guys really did share a lot of
Mm,
that insight, giving people a snippet. So they're like, you know what, it was something that makes them more human,
mm, mm.
not just a talking head on a television.
No, 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 he wasn't that. Especially when he was concocting some of his health smoothies.
Right? The smoothies. Yeah. Just see him up there like Betty Crocker.
If
I
I
love.
smoothie maker, the blender coming out, I used to dread it because it's so awful. And orange water, it was dreadful. Absolutely. But he had these little, ooh, I think you'll be healthy.
Oh, it's just like I'm like, oh, the sacrifice, the struggle is real. So, uh well, thank you so much for joining me and joining us and just sharing as much as you did. And um, I'm dying for the book to come out. I will be one that will get the book. Tamara says the same.
I shall be putting it on my page when
Yes.
it's available. Thank you for having me, and I'm sorry I've spent the whole of the time twitching and fiddling and sitting on the bedroom floor because my office had been taken over. My laptop work on Messenger for some reason. I had it all set up, but thanks, yes.
Oh, it was an honor. It was a pleasure. And I truly think Derek may have had a hand in it, saying, "You're going to sit on the floor. You're going to have some fun with this."
I don't doubt that for a moment, because my behind is numb.
There we go. Mission accomplished on his part, I think. Thank you, Derek. So thank you again, Gwen. And I'm looking forward to the book. And you have an open door policy with me anytime you'd like to come on and talk about anything. I would love to have you back.
Wonderful. Maybe one day I'll come on and talk about banana bending and beveled hedge weaving or some such thing.
Let's just do it. Let's just go crazy. We'll pick some random topics and run with it. Doesn't take much. So thank you again, and have a wonderful evening. It's thank you. Good night. Well, everyone, that was a very touching interview, without a doubt. Hanging out with Gwen, she's lovely. My interaction with her has been lovely, and to come out and talk about, especially the healing behind all of this, it's just been very enlightening, and I love the insight of everything that she shared, not just about Derek, but about herself. So DerochAcorah.com. It's in the show description. It's fascinating because there's a lot of friends and colleagues who have rallied about who continued the mediumship, and you can go into the website and not only find out about Pathfinders, a charity. You could find out more about who Derek was. You can find out about what all of these people are still doing just to carry on the legacy, which I think is just fantastic. So tomorrow night, guys, don't forget, on the Outer Realm, John Thomas is going to be joining us talking about his book, Channeled Messages of Hope, and conversations with history's most prominent souls on the other side. It is crazy when I look at the information that they sent. They're truly messages being given to us with things that are up and coming on so many different levels. So please tune in for that. And Thursday night, and continuing on with dear friends, Steve Genier, Alex Rondini from Nocturnal Frequency. I did their show Sunday night. We're talking about local haunts of an area that, both Alex and I, or Steve and I, lived in, and all the areas of high strangeness. So we're going to continue that on so all of you guys can catch up and hear it as well. And Kazan, oh my God, 2 a.m. Yeah, you're a champ. You're definitely going to have to talk about, or go back rather, and watch the replay. It will stay everywhere because, of course, it wasn't an uncensored show. And yes, I love when she posts about the dogs or what she's up to. She's a very busy lady, and obviously still going through a great degree of healing. So honor and pleasure that she was able to join us all. And again, thanks for the patience with having to start a little bit later. We had a time change, daylight savings time. They haven't had theirs yet. So my time did not jive necessarily with her time. So we made it work, to which I am grateful. So guys, thank you very, very much. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. Thanks to United Public Radio, UFO Paranormal Radio, 105.3 and 107.7 FM. See you guys tomorrow night. Good night.